Hello, Shapers. Today we have a special guest with us from Latin American country of Argentina. Our guest is a public servant, political advisor, public policy designer, and implementer. Currently, he works in the Ministry of Equality, Gender, and Diversity of the province of the Santa Fe. Previously, he worked for the Secretary of Youth, where he successfully built a network of over 150 organizations and initiatives that the government supported. He has also served as an advisor to Congress of Argentine Nation and currently as a counselor at the New Voice Council of Apolitical Foundation. In addition, he volunteered for a NGO, Orillas, which aims to promote critical thinking among young people for low-income areas. In Global Shapers community, he has served as a curator of Rosario Hub in Argentina, and currently he is a member of Advisory Council of Global Shapers community. He also co-authored a report, Davos Lab Youth Recovery Plan, and was a part of Taskforce that mobilized over 2 million young people worldwide. It's my immense pleasure to welcome our today's guest, Gonzalo Benetti. Yes, welcome Gonzalo to the Coffee with Curators.
Hello, Hanan. It's my pleasure to be here with you today and with the rest of the Shapers.
So, in today's world, young people face a multitude of global issues, such as the climate change, the fourth industrial revolution in industry, financial crisis due to the inflation, geopolitical conflicts like Russia-Ukraine conflict, and most important, corruption. As a young people, how would you define politics in this context, and what can be done to help young people to better engage with the political process from your experience?
Yes. About the list you shared, obviously are too many problems in the world. Especially sometimes problems look bigger than us, and it's really difficult to think about or try to do something. For me, a good option is to think in the local level, try to change our neighborhood, the things around us. I think politics is the art of possible, is a tool we have to transform the reality. And we should start according our possibilities around us. Also, I think platforms like Global Shapers or other international organizations are a really good option to raise our voice and try to have a bigger impact. Not only with the mainstream problems, are a lot of conflicts on Earth. Nobody pay attention. Sometimes these kind of organizations follow one specific agenda, and there is a lot of conflicts and a lot of issues are out of our debates. For example, what happened now in Middle East, it's terrible and nobody's talking about. Also in cities like mine in Rosario in Argentina, we had a fire in our wetlands in front of our city during years. We complain and show to the world and nobody cares about. And sometimes the same issues in other countries are global news. So I think a big lesson for us as global shapers and as young people is to try to follow our own agenda, try to identify that kind of conflicts are not in front of the media, the news, and try to do something about. I think this is one of the biggest lessons. And start from home. Sometimes the best way to do politics is to have a debate with a friend, with another citizen from our neighborhood. Politics is to have conversation and to try to find points in common with other people to solve conflicts.
Looking to the future, what role do you see young people in shaping the political landscape? because you are closely working with Forum and Global Shapers from over 5 to 6 years now.
It's as I said, I think now we have the possibility to with thanks social media, different platforms, networks we built, we have the possibility to show to the world another point of view of the same reality and follow our own agenda. I think if we claim for young people in politics, we need to understand to be really representatives of young people, not only of young people, of all that groups are underrepresented, and try to push for a new agenda. As I told you, there are a lot of conflicts nobody talked about. A few days ago, we were witnesses of the brutality of the Israeli army in Al-Aqsa, for example. Too many conflicts in the world and nobody talked about. And we need to try to understand we shouldn't replicate the same mistakes than our previous generations. I think we need to put in the table and discuss from a different perspective and don't follow the agenda of the world leaders because it's not the agenda of the people.
As a young person, could you share your personal experience working in politics or for policy making, and how has this experience shaped your view on a political process? Like you have, as one of your interview, you mentioned that you have a lot of like political background in your family, and starting from your initial days, you are like active in a lot of social work. So can you give us a brief overview about it?
Yes, I think the political processes are really complex. Even when we are talking in a local scale, try to find agreements with people who thinks in a really different way than us. It's really complicated. So I think it's really important to have different skills to know how to handle. It's important to be prepared and understand how is the best way to build a public policy, to understand what happened after, because we can create an amazing project, an amazing initiative, but then we need to find agreements with a lot of different actors from the reality. People who has the power to take the decision or freeze the decision to move forward or to stop 100% your initiative. One amazing thing of politics is the scale of your impact. If you achieve all the different steps and you finally launch a public policy, you can impact in the life of a lot of people. You can have a lot of resources for your projects, for your initiatives, for your programs. You can really change the life of people. So I think worth it, the whole effort, but sometimes it's really difficult. That is why I really believe we need not only better policies, we need better politicians. That is why I'm contributing with a political foundation, because the main objective of a political foundation is build better politicians from the 21st century. So I really believe we need to help to develop those skills in young people, but also in other generations, because they are taking decisions right now. It's important to focus also on people. It's important also to talk about the amount of stress, anxiety, about mental issues of the people who are taking decisions right now, because we need to start from a common ground of we are people discussing to improve the life of people. So this is a big side of the problem, and the other one is the transparency, because as you said, there are a lot of corruption in the world right now, and transparency is really important. We need to know the mechanisms of power, how to achieve a seat in our assemblies, how to achieve the key of an office. It's important to know how to finance a political campaign, how to finance our political initiatives. Nobody talks about, nobody teach about, even inside the political parties, even when a person is helping you to build your political career, even that person never show you the path. We need to give lights to all these processes, and also we need to find new ways to do the same. New ways to finance our initiatives. I always said I don't think lobby isn't good. It depends which door you are knocking. I think there are a lot of politicians with a lot of pressure for the international lobby and the big companies in our countries. So maybe we need to start to find those startups, those new companies who share the same values with us and need our help and need better policies, better regulations, new laws to continue improving the world. So I think we need to find a new agreement with all that people and create a big movement to try to change the system. It doesn't work a young person in an office doing the same of an old one. It no makes sense. It's the same. We are only changing the names. We need to create something different, and there are different movements doing that. For example, in my country and in different countries here in the region, and I don't know if in the rest of the world they do the same, exists System B. Are big companies with focus on triple impact, trying to change the world and create business model with purpose. But the big companies try to create a bigger movement, not only focusing companies, but also in the system. That is why they include different people working on government and in different organizations like Global Shapers or other organizations to create an ecosystem, because all the parts are necessary. So I think we need to try to find a good balance and a good fit between these emerging companies who are trying to solve the problems in the world and the new generations of politicians, and try to achieve that. Positions could help to have a new better policies for our societies.
The awareness about the current situation of the country and encouraging young youth who is well aware about the situation to participate in politics is like a great thing for changing the system all over the world. That is a very important point you discussed. Gonzalo, in one of your interview, you mentioned that you grew up listening to tales of history and government, and that politics and diplomacy practically run in your blood because of your family background. So my question is, how do you define leadership in context of politics and public policy in both current and future perspective?
Leadership is essential, because sometimes we talk about leadership, or we say, this person is a leader, we are leaders, we are global leaders, and we need to try to understand what that means. For me, I always try to avoid really big definitions. I'm trying to think always in little actions about leadership. What is to be a leader? If if you are not leading anyone, you are not a leader. So a leader is a person who helps people to move from one point to another, helping they to do that process. And there are a lot of ways to do that. For me, the best way to be a leader is to try to empower people to find by themselves their whole capacity to do something. And also, it's really important to have a lot of empathy and understand how that person, the feeling of that person in the moment, how it's being affected by the situation. Maybe my past 2 years in the council were about that, because sometimes leaderships try to show the way to people and different options, not only the way I took, all the possible ways, and try to be there for that people to help, but encourage to move forward by themselves. And sometimes we always talk in a really abstract way about this process, but sometimes that means to have a coffee, a conversation, a call, even a WhatsApp message, or only be there. Sometimes, for example, in the past, I managed different situations and people felt a lot of anxiety with that. I just was there for that people in silence, just offering my presence. I think that is leadership too. Leadership in politics, I think we need to start to deconstruct the idea of the politicians should be a machine, a robot, like 24/7. We have an opportunity to rest. We need to be in the whole places at the same time and try to solve all the problems. We are humans. That is the first rule, and a whole new generations of politicians in the world, maybe not in my country, but in different countries in the world, with a different perspective, trying to have in balance their personal life and their responsibilities. For example, Sana Marin during the day works to join Finland in NATO, and during the night she went to a rock festival. And I think this is amazing. It's a perfect example. It's possible because mental health is really important for everyone, but even more for people who is taking big decisions in the world, and they are exposed to a lot of violence. Sometimes people is completely angry, and they are right. The world has a lot of problems, and politicians failed a lot in the past, and it's their responsibility to show us results. But at the same time, imagine to be in a show in which you can't trust in anyone, even in your office. You work 24/7 without rest. Also, all the people hates you. And also you are taking the most important decisions for the people. I think is evident the result. So we need to change that with more empathy, especially between politicians. That is why I really believe and clarify our intentions. I think politics is a tool to change the reality, and we can serve for a certain time to do that, but it's not something we can do forever, you know. Maybe the advice or the people who are professionals in politics, but politicians should be normal citizens with really big concerns and try to use their time and try to understand, like Jacinda Ardern say, okay, that's it for me. It's time for a new generation of leaders. I think this is really important because it's the healthiest way. And once again, when politicians try to be in power forever, start the problems. You know, I mentioned before the attacks to Al-Aqsa in Palestine. You know, it's a perfect example of what is happened. A prime minister trying to maintain himself in power because he need to do it because he's being investigated for corruption, so he needs to maintain the power, and the only way is to change the whole political system with the most terrible allies possible. So I think there is a point sometimes in which that we haven't the possibility to return. We need to avoid that completely. We need to understand politics is service, and we have our time, and then we need to empower a new generations of leaders to same in my country. In my country, we have the same politicians during the last 20, 30 years, and that is a really big problem because when you change your focus from help people and trying to improve your country, the citizens, and everything, to maintain you in power, it's when you open the door to the whole negative system around politics, to all that people who needs you and you need they. It's completely against the common good of the people.
Actually, you have covered like positive part of the politics and simultaneously negative part of the politics. Some politicians don't want to lose the power, and some are facing mental problem. How can they design the policies for the next generation? That is the most important problem. So balancing their personal and professional life is most important for the today's scenario. So thank you.
Yes.
We are moving towards our next portion about the Global Shapers community. So my next question about your journey as a global shaper. So could you share your like experience from joining as a global shaper, then curator of the Rosario Hub, to the working as an advisory council member of the Global Shapers community for 2 years now?
Okay, was a crazy journey. First of all, my story is the same of the story of a lot of shapers. Was the last possible call from my hub at the last day, at the last minute, one shaper asked me why I didn't see your application in the form. It's your last opportunity to join us. And I say, okay, I'm gonna do it. That's it. And I fill the form without. I was working in a co-working, managing a co-working space for organizations. So I knew about Global Shapers and also about a lot of organizations, and a lot of organization of youth invited me to be part. Also, I'm participating in other organizations, but I say, okay, why not? I want to try, and I choose Global Shapers instead organization because I knew them, but I knew all the organizations. And for me, it was the most different organization than the way I saw in the past, with most diversity, especially in the way they saw and they discussed. All the discussions I listened from they were like, okay. And I was really tired of, my whole life I participated in politics in a political party. When you are in a political party during a decade, at certain point, all the people around you think in the same way than you. But not in Global Shapers. In Global Shapers, I saw people with really different positions about everything. And I said, okay, maybe I need this now at that moment in my life to grow, because as I told you, try to find this kind of agreements with people who think in a different way is really important. So I joined Global Shapers with that objective without even know what to expect. And really fast, I found amazing initiatives, and we transformed that initiatives. The first projects we ran was a hackathon, but wasn't the idea to have a hackathon. We achieved to the idea, okay, we need to do a hackathon now, because at that moment, Global Shaper had 3 impact areas. That 3 impact areas had big global goals. I remember in climate change, mobilize 1 million people around the world, and train 100,000 people with new skills for the future of job. Train 100,000 people in equity and diversity. And we say, okay, our hub was medium size, but we haven't a lot of projects, especially in those areas. And we say, okay, let's divide this goal by the amount of hubs in the world. So, okay, we have our goal. We need to mobilize at least 2,000 young people in climate change. Okay, we don't know anything about climate change. At that moment, we haven't that profiles in our hub. So we decide to run a recruitment campaign, but also to create a hackathon. Okay, we don't know anything, but we can find experts to be mentors and show and invite young people to think with us. And if we can create initiatives with them, and they do that initiatives, we can achieve our quote in this big goal, because we made a commitment with that goal, because our curator participated in the annual summit in which they defined that goals. So we felt the responsibility to try to achieve that. So we started with the hackathon and was really successful. A project from people from outside the hub started an amazing initiative. They are still there, working completely independent in a completely independent way than our hub. For me, was the perfect proof. Okay, it's not only about the projects, it's not only about the initiatives, it's to have a clear vision of why we are doing this project and not another one. We decided to do that project because was the most effective way for us to guarantee that part of the goal from our hub. I started to reflect in the governance of my hub. Okay, how can I create the best processes to achieve our goals? We need to recruit people about these specific topics. We need to find a good strategy to achieve those goals. we need to maintain the engagement and encourage all the people. And I started to reflect about that. And that is why I decided to run as curator. Well, the problem was a little problem. I was selected as curator in February of 2020. So my leadership plan proposal was, okay, March started the worst pandemic in our lives, at least, and in the last century. So we need to say, okay, we can stop now, or we can try to adapt to this new situation. So during my transition, during that transition between the outgoing curator and me as incoming curator, was from March to July. That the worst 3 months of COVID-19. A preparation, moving our whole work to virtuality for us was the opportunity to show to a global level with our hub. We always were focused, and now we are focused too, again, at local level, but during that time we were focused in the global size of Global Shapers community. So we said, okay, we had an amazing experience with the hackathon in person in our city. Maybe we can create the same hackathon, but for all Latin America and only for Shapers. And we invited all the curators, the incoming curators of Latin America from all the hubs, and we had an amazing hackathon to try to create cross-hub collaboration projects and initiatives to contribute with to find solutions to COVID-19. But we really understood really fast the virtuality, and that opened to our hub a lot of doors. Also for me, I could participate in a lot of with events in a virtual way, and had conversations with amazing stakeholders of the forum, and that changed my life and my mind completely. I discovered new discussions at global level, and I met amazing shapers from different parts of the world, and I'm also got selected to be part of the Davos Lab Taskforce and contribute with that initiative. So was an amazing moment, a little bit bitter, because, for example, I participated in amazing events in the virtual version. So it was like, okay, this is amazing, but also it's not the same. So it was really difficult, that part, but at the same time, that remembered me the real reasons of why we need all this kind of initiatives. Sometimes I really believe the lights blind us, and sometimes, the worst thing can happen to a person is when you show the whole light when they came from the darkness. It's blind us, and we lost references. So for me, it was perfect to maintain myself on the ground and be completely conscious. When we participated in Davos Agenda, was okay. We had a breakout room with amazing chief executive officers, or most of the most important politicians on earth. But I finished the call, I took my bike, and I ride my bike across my city went to a park to talk with a shaper who needed my help at that moment. My curatorship was a support system for a lot of shapers facing really difficult situations with COVID, for example, with the illness of the COVID-19, but also with their jobs, with their careers, trying to heal different things, or for example, relatives of the shaper from my hub died. What was a really challenging year, really difficult, and was really heartbreaking. But once again, empathy was fundamental to be there for all the shapers. We made a lot of mistakes.
So you have worked at hub level for 2-3 years, and now you are completing 2 years as an advisory council member at global level. So my question is about the experience. Could you please share us the difference you have experienced while working at the local hub level and global level?
The advisory council was the most craziest experience, maybe with Davos Lab too, but the main difference is the scale. But at the same time, it's really similar because once again, we are talking leadership is sometimes leadership sounds like a really big word, but leadership is to have conversations, calls, talk with empathy, try to reflect together with a different person and try to help that person to move from. I helped a lot of people. The reality is all the members of the council are different, and that is amazing. We came from really different cultures. We need to find solutions and a way to heal processes in different hubs according to different perspective. All the hubs has the same problems, but it's really different when you try to heal different arguments, human processes, when you are working with different cultures, because yes, the problem is the same, but their backgrounds as human beings are different. So and even from our side, from the council, when I managed conflict cases resolutions with shapers from different regions of the world, from the council, I saw the difference between us. I'm from Latin America. We are really warm people. We try to avoid conflict. We try to be friends of all the people, and offer our friendship to all and try to resolve the conflicts from that point. Different shapers has a different way to solve the conflicts. It's like more like strict, and the distance is bigger, and it's okay to and sometimes helps a lot to do it in that way. In my case, I managed different conflicts and I involved a lot with the different people, especially because sometimes always it's important to maintain the neutrality and listen to both sides and try to find solutions with both sides. But at the same time, we need to understand the suffering of the other person and work with empathy. I managed cases, I think, in the whole, in all the continents, in all the regions. So the cultural differences were there, but I think always the better resolutions were solved thanks to the community spirit of all involved parts. It's true. nothing is for free. This is also really true in leadership. We need to know if we want to be leaders, we need to be ready to be affected too. I suffer with shapers too, because it's really hard to see a person with anxiety suffering. And also I got really happy after we the positive resolutions, looking there with new energies, happy again, contributing, creating amazing projects again, being friend with the shaper, which they couldn't talk. So manage conflicts was an amazing experience, a really difficult one. We were exposed to a lot of different and challenging moments, but the results were really positive because, as we talked during the annual summit, it's really important to have difficult conversations and try to heal processes inside our hubs. It's a reality because we are human beings, and in the beginning of this conversation, when we were talking about why I joined the Global Shapers community, because I wanted to talk with people who think in a different way. It's normal to have conflicts. It's really normal to have conflicts. It's important also to have conflicts because but the key is on how we handle that conflicts, the lessons we took from that, the governance structure and the rules and the charter we built after that happened. This is the most important. And we need to embrace the conflict and try to understand it's part of the process and try to reduce all the risk to the minimum, and took all the lessons and learn how to handle. For me, this is the most important. It's the biggest lesson I have from the council. I also help to amazing initiatives like help to open new hubs, contributing with the curatorship curriculum sessions was really a really amazing experience, and also transformed me in a lot of different ways. As I told you, it's not for free, this, so I met a lot of amazing people. I suffered with them, I was happy with them. We worked together to find solutions. I grew up as a person. I learned from different cultures. I learned from different situations in the world. I improved a lot of skills, and now I'm conscious the world is an amazing place and it's full of amazing people. So I think it changed my whole perspective about everything.
So we are now at our final stage of today's podcast. So there are a lot of Spanish-speaking hubs all over the world. So would you like to give any advice or suggestion based on your professional and social experience to shapers and youth who wants to work in politics and policy making, or any positive impact in the society?
Bueno, consejos. Yo creo que los consejos son muy parecidos a los que fui dando durante toda la charla. Tratar de entender el por qué hacemos las cosas que hacemos, tratar de buscar las mejores soluciones y las más eficientes desde un punto de vista muy humano, con mucha empatía, poniendo por delante a las personas, pero encontrando los mejores mecanismos para poder generar el mayor impacto posible con la menor cantidad de recursos necesarios. And I can answer in English the same. It's always remember why we do this, and try to find the most efficient processes to generate a bigger impact, always with empathy and with focus in the people from our teams, because they are going to do it. And being efficient is to try to find the best strategy and spend the less amount of effort and resources and for a biggest impact. Sometimes we think we need to be 24/7 doing things, and sometimes we contribute a lot of time and we are not impacting. And sometimes a shaper could do a simple little task, a half hour, and maybe it's the right thing to do, and that simple task deliver a lot of impact. So we try to think in a very strategic way and try to understand that and motivate shapers to do that, because success is when you achieve the goal you set before. And if you set a goal in a real smart way, and we try to achieve that goal in the best way possible, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a really boost of energy for the whole hub and for all the people there. If we set in a wrong way that, and we spend a lot of time doing a lot of things, could be pointless, and maybe looks like, okay, look, that hub, they are working a lot, but they are not impacting, you know. Sometimes it's better to focus and do the right thing in the right moment. I want to share a last story. It's about a shaper from my hub who came to me during 2020 and said, okay, I saw how the rest of the shaper are contributing a lot of time, are presenting 5 projects at the same time, and I couldn't join in the last meetups, and I stopped him and said, well, you developed an alliance with the company only sending a letter. You only did that. You write an email and send it, and they donate us 10 computers, and with those 10 computers, we acquire a local organization in a low income area and create a digital point. And now we are including people to the new technologies thanks to that email. All the shapers, you are comparing yourself with different shapers who are in a lot of projects and in a lot of initiatives, but you should compare with the impact you are doing and the impact they are doing. Sometimes it's pointless to be 24/7. We need to enjoy more life, to have our personal space, our personal time, enjoy with our friends, because also it's important. The best projects and initiatives born in a coffee, in a beer, in a party, in that moments when you are chilling with your friends, with your peers, and you say, okay, you know, this is a problem. I remember also we were was a Saturday night, we were drinking beers with a few shapers, and one of the shapers of my hub, she was the vice curator when I was curator. She asked to the shapers who knew about finance, what should I do with my with the money I save, because the money is there and I started a new show. I had a little more money to save, and I want to invest the money, but I don't know anything. And they started really crazy. Yes, like they were waiting that question from someone, like, and they started to, you can do this, you can do that, you try with this platform, you know about this asset, did you try crypto, blah 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 blah. They started to talk a lot. After a half hour or maybe 40 minutes, they say, look, there are a lot of people like you. maybe we can create an initiative about education in finance. The next week we had a new project in our hub.
Amazing.
So it's important to have these moments and chill with our peers, with our friends, and try to relax our mind, because it's when the best ideas appears. And then it's important to work a lot and work in a smart way, not doing a lot of things without a strategy, because it's pointless and we are going to finish really frustrated. So after that conversation with that shaper, in which I told him, look, you did a lot only with a letter. You contributed only 5 minutes in the whole semester, but that helped us to achieve our biggest initiative in the year. So try to think how we can create this kind of framework for the whole hub. And he was the vice curator after the end of my term, because he changed it completely his mind. He said, okay, it's true. It's not like I'm doing less than the others. I just need a different kind of, I need to participate and contribute from a different way. This is really important. In a diverse community, we need to find the best way for every single shaper to contribute. It's completely pointless to have the same framework for the participation of different shapers with different backgrounds. Are shapers with 18, 19, 20 years at the university, and they have more time, maybe are shapers in the last close to 30s, maybe they have child, and or a family. So it's completely different. There is a big gap. So we need to find the best way to engage everyone according to their possibilities, to not left anyone alone, because all the people have amazing things to share. Last but not least, always remember, we are not leaders. We are young people with the potential to be leaders. When we enter to Global Shapers, we are not leaders. Maybe a few of us, they are leaders from the beginning, but majority not. And they start from zero in Global Shapers to develop those skills. And maybe you are talking with me now. I'm alumni. I was curator. I was in Davos Lab Taskforce. I'm in the Global Shaper Advisory Council. I'm still not considered I'm one of the best leader in the world. I'm just a person who try to help others. But now, after the whole path in Global Shaper community, I received a lot of lessons, a lot of skills, a lot of trainings, a lot of things that maybe allow me to feel like I could be a positive leader for others. And I think Global Shaper is that. That is why I think the only thing we need to seek during our recruitment campaigns is people who want to start that path with the commitment to do the whole path. And now I'm going to finish for sure. We need to open the door and receive those people and be completely responsible doing that, and find the best way. For me, my path was governance, because I love that. I love to create a good framework, to create a good strategy for our hub. For other shapers, could be impact. Could be a specific impact area, climate change, could be equity and inclusion, could be impact officer, member of the impact council, and I don't know. For me, was that path. And every single path is different, and we need to find the best way for each one. So I think that is my last reflection about how to improve our community and our participation as shapers.
This is truly amazing and complete solution for the all the confusions in the mind of the shapers. Like focus on impact. Just focus on your work. You are not less or more than any other shaper or hub. Your impact is your impact. Just focus on it, and you will feel happy about it. So thank you so much, Gonzalo, for joining us today on our podcast. And I really appreciate your time and insights on youth in politics, leadership, and your journey as a global shaper. And most important, your insights, your expertise, and perspective were incredibly valuable for shapers and youth. And I hope you enjoyed the experience as much as we did. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for the shapers who took their time to listen to this podcast.